welcome back to the channel. My name is Ari Christopher, and I guess technically this is really my first real video with you guys. I've posted a few videos before, which you're welcome to look at, but all of those have been just voiceover videos because I'm incredibly nervous about my image in the videos. I'm incredibly self-conscious. Yeah, I got body issues. What can I say? But I wanted to take a moment and actually do a real video and see if I could get the courage to do it. So here's my shot at doing that. So if you've watched any of the previous voiceover videos, you've heard me talk just a little bit about my story and where I'm coming from. So I am in the process of transitioning. I actually just last week reached my 2-month mark on HRT, hormone replacement therapy. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about that and some of the other things surrounding my transition and what I've went through. So, talking about with the HRT, so I started with therapy much earlier in the year, in 2017, because for a very long time I had had a lot of dysphoria and I had really, pinned it all up and been in a state of denial of what was going on. So I finally decided it was time to take a proactive approach. So I started with therapy. I started with laser hair removal on my face because that was a major point of dysphoria for me, a major trigger. Um, so I was one of those people who was incredibly nervous about even the idea of going to therapy. It's not something I'd ever considered or ever thought I would do. So I did a little research and I came across a trans-friendly therapist and had my first appointment with them. And all I can say is finding the right therapist is so key to anything, to if you're going through any type of therapy or, any major, issue in your life. Having that person you can talk to that you really connect to is very important. And I was lucky. The very first therapist I met with, I immediately connected with. Like me, she comes from a southern state, so my twang didn't seem so out of place. Um, and she was incredibly friendly and understanding and listened to what I had to say. And it was really a no judgment zone, which was something that I really wasn't used to. Um, so if you are, looking at going through transition and you are nervous about, the idea of therapy, please give it a shot. Find the right therapist because it can make a world of difference. So I really encourage it. Besides, you're going to need that therapist later anyway if you decide that you want to do anything like sometimes hormone replacement therapy, SRS, top surgery, anything. So, because, the WPATH standards that most doctors go through or that abide by generally requires a letter from your therapist, sometimes two. So it's incredibly important to have that therapist who already knows your situation, what you're going through, and has been working with you through the process. So, anyway, shortly after starting therapy, my therapist recommended me to a doctor for HRT, hormone replacement therapy. In this case, I didn't need a letter from my therapist because this doctor worked on what's called the informed consent model, which basically is they inform you of all the risk and all the changes that you're likely to see. And then they have you sign stating that you understand that and that you're willing to accept those. So 2 months ago, I officially started. So, talking about some of the changes, at first I didn't see a whole lot. About a weekend, I got terrible leg cramps, which I had no clue were something that could happen. But I looked it up and actually found through some trans resources that that was pretty standard fare. The only concern was if it lasted long term, and it didn't. It was a few days and then it pretty well passed. Um, so I had started on spironolactone, as I forgot to mention. and estradiol. Spironolactone is a testosterone blocker. Estradiol, of course, is the estrogen. Um, so anyway, the leg cramps were probably the first thing I experienced. Um, Also, with spironolactone, it also functions as a diuretic. So yeah, be prepared to be spending a whole lot more trips running back and forth to the bathroom. I still do, but I've gotten used to it now. It's not nearly as irritating as it was at first. But anyway, that was the most I saw for a long time until probably about 3 weeks ago when I started seeing some breast development. And it started with a little bit of tenderness, and then you could start to see the growth begin with the breast tissue. You probably are not going to be able to tell anything in this video because I am incredibly skinny, but it is more noticeable in person now. Um, so that was pretty exciting that it actually had started out. So with that, very recently, I decided that it was time that I talked with my boss and let my boss know what was going on. I really wanted, my career is incredibly important to me, and I really wanted my boss to be in the loop. And I knew I worked for an incredibly accepting company. But again, you always want to give someone a heads up when something's going to be happening in their building. Um, so I had a meeting scheduled with my boss, and I just let my boss know that I was going through the transition process, that I wasn't asking for anything at the moment, no pronoun changes at this point, nothing, no changes, um, but that it would come up in the future, and I wanted them to be prepared for it, because I'm not out to everyone at work. I prefer to keep that to myself. At least at work right now. Eventually, that won't be the case, but right now it is. Um, so anyway, I told him what was going on. He was incredibly understanding, incredibly accepting, and told me if I needed anything at all to let them know. If I had any problems with any other coworkers, to let them know. Um, so I was very appreciative of that. Now, like a week later, my boss is no longer my boss. So the only person I had told, at least at work in that regard, um, now isn't there. So that was a little frustrating, but I thought it was going to be. I thought my first reaction was, well, my whole everything I went through was useless, but it wasn't. It gave me an opportunity to build up my courage, and it let me know that I could do it. I really questioned whether or not I would ever even have the courage to actually be able to do it. And it proved to me that I could have the courage to do it. So it worked out. So, anyway, that's a little bit on the updates that I have right now. Hopefully, this video will do well, and I'll be able to do some more videos in the future, I hope. If you did enjoy the video, then please take a moment and hit the subscribe button. Um, to watch more videos. You can go back and see some of the voiceover videos that I was talking about. Can't guarantee you that I won't get nervous and do another one of those. So if I do, bear with me. Hopefully you're willing to give me a chance. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what I have. So that's it for today. You know, always, I guess my ending words are just remember to be true to being who you are. Um, at the end of the day, you can't live for anyone but yourself. And that's something that I've slowly been learning. So, you know, be you, enjoy life because you only get the one. Thanks. And hopefully I'll see you again.